Tonight's class, we want to look at two things. Events. There's an inbuilt object in JavaScript known as events. And we also look at how to deal with arrays in React. So let's look at the first one, events. Let's look at the first one, events. Sorry, unclick and func. Let's get a function called my func. So now, if you are familiar with JavaScript, when you want to pass events to a function in JavaScript, this is how you do it. You come here and you use this word events like this. When you run this you receive it here. You usually use E. You can check out my JavaScript textbook. I think I've sent the link to the book. The ebook is a free one. In vanilla JavaScript, this is how you run it. When you call on this function, when you click on this button like this input object event will be sent to this place. And of course, you must use this word events, not any other word. It must be EVENT. Then it will be sent to this. You can now console log event. In ReactJS, you don't need to pass it like this. Every function automatically send events. Every function. I can, I'm not passing anything like this. But somehow, I'm not writing this. But somehow, if I go to the console, even despite the fact that I'm not doing this, and I say console log E, it will log events to the console. So in ReactJS, events are automatically sent to that function whenever you call upon it. Events are you don't even need to write it out. They are automatically sent. Let's go to the console and see this E. This E stands for that event object. So I'll go to the browser now. Oops, let me add something to this. Click me. Sorry, someone wants to join. So I'll click on this now. This is the event object. So, but then that may cause a little issue. Automatically sending it like this. What do I mean? Let's assume you need to now send an argument to your function, just like we did in the solution we just looked at, whereby we do something like this. 1. So in this case, that event will no longer be sent. I can make it. Once you put any value here, this value will override event. So E will now be 1. E is going to be 1. It's not going to be event again. Whatever you put here will no longer be event. It will now be whatever you pass here. If what I put here is James, this James will be sent as the value of E, and it will console log James. Flash, click, James. But if you're not sending anything, if you just put the name of the function like this, it will automatically send event, and you can receive it here and log it to the console. Now, there are situations whereby you want to send both event and another argument to your function. How do you go about that? Imagine this. Inside this function, I need event. And at the same time, I want to send maybe 5. I need those two values inside this function. I need event. I also want 5. How do you go about it? So what happens is you can come here now, and you still have access to the events here. You have access to the events here. Remember, I told you that whenever you are using parameterized function, what you are doing is you are creating an arrow function, and that arrow function will now return a new function. So in the first arrow function now, you have access to events. It's not a must to call it event. You can call it anything, any name of your choice. unlike the way it is in JavaScript. You can call it any name of your choice. So in this case, I'm calling it any name. So in my function, my func, I can now pass this any name down to this place. Also, if I wish, I can pass another value to it. So you come here, you can receive the two now. Any name. It's not must call it any name. You can just call it C and var. So this any name, which is event. Remember, what you have here is event. You can pass it here. It stands for E. This 5 stands for var. You can log out E and var. You can log out the 2. So if I want to use event, I can easily make use of it. If I want to use this 5, if I want to use events, that would be E. I can log it here. If you log out E. If I want to use 5, that would be var. I can log out var. Any question? If you are lost, say I'm lost. Okay, if you are getting it, say I'm getting it.
Getting it.
Okay. Now, just like I said earlier, it is important that you have knowledge of JavaScript before this class. Like I'm teaching this class on the premise that we already understand, already know JavaScript. Okay, so when you click on this, it's going to run. This is how to make use of events. So most times in ReactJS, we mainly use events when you are dealing with inputs. Not only, but most times we are dealing with inputs. So you want to get the values inside your inputs. You want to get whatever the user types there. So I can say on change, you can also use on inputs. On change, I want to call on this function called myFunc. Remember I told you that when you have a function like this, it automatically sends events. So that means this E stands for event. As the user types here, event will be sent to E. We can now log E to the console. So whenever this changes, event is sent to E. You can log E to the console, which is the event. Okay, let's do that together. So as the user types there, you see it's logging into the console. Now, I think that's a few minutes, like 15 minutes to go. Okay. So next is, instead of just logging E to the console, I want to log whatever the user types. So we can make use of the e.target. Inside this event, there's a target object there. I think I should be able to have access to it. And let's open one of them. These targets. This is a target object. So then inside this target we have value. This value is what you have inside this place. So I can say e.target.value. So that gives me this, and that's what you're going to do. We say e.target.value. So as you type here, it's going to call on this. Then it's going to send events. You can now log e.target.value. That is going to log whatever the user types in this input to the console. Okay, let's run it together. So you see, it's logging it to the console. Let's proceed. Now, remember I told you also that if you want to send another value, well, in this case we don't need to, but let's say you need to send another value. This is how you go about it. You just like as a refresher. And call it EV, and now send maybe, okay, so that you can receive the second one. So this time will be the value of second, but we are not going into that part. Okay, so we have this. I can now create a state. Let's name, set name equals to use state, and let's set this as an empty string. So as user types inside this input, the event is sent as E. We can now come here and say set, we can come here and say set name will now be e.target.value. That is, as the user types in this input, the value of name will be the value of name. Remember, whatever you put inside your set name becomes the value of name. So as the user types in, it's going to call on this. It's going to say set name e.target.value. So the value of name will be whatever is inside that input at that moment. So let's display the name on the screen. Name. So once you put name here, it's going to display it on the screen. So let's refresh. I can close this now. Okay, I'm done with this part. So I can say, so as user types is changing it actually. Just something like this. As user types, you can have it there. Any questions so far? Okay.
My question is, in the function you created outside, when you're talking about, passing different console logging events and a value.
Okay.
So now we want to log both at once. Okay. Now the function that you created, like the my func. So if we don't pass the second parameter, is it going to throw an error?
No.
Like this is just want display the event only. Although we have both events and another value in when we are calling on change or on click something. You get my point.
I think you mean this, right?
No. Okay. From the change now. Let's say we pass another value.
Okay.
Pass another value.
Like this.
So now, yes, like this. So now we now come to my func. Okay. So you remove value. Okay. The second, yeah. Okay, like this. You are now considered just E. Is it going to try an error?
No. No, JavaScript is lenient. JavaScript is a lenient language. So it will pardon you. But only this E, which stands for event, will be sent and it will be, of course, it's not a must to call this E, you can call it any name. The event will be sent to this E and it will console log that event.
Okay.
So you see it's working fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So let's now bring in, let's put a button here. Whenever I click on this button, I want to get this value, whatever name is, and I want to push it in an array. I come again. I want to get whatever name is, I'll push it in an array. We have 10 minutes left. 10 minutes left. So I'll say let's names, set names equals to set names equals to use state. So let's say this starts as an empty array. So when I click on this button, I'll get this name and I'll find a way to push it inside this place. So cost, let's say add name equals to this. Then you say click. Then you say add name. So you can do something that you may type something like this, dot push name. Do you understand? No. It's going to push name inside this place. But in ReactJS, this is a taboo. Because I told you that when you have a state and you have a function like this, if I thought you need to change this state, it must be with this set name, not push like this. No. This you are mutating the state. You are changing what is inside the state without using this set name. These set names. Whenever you need to change names, it must be done using these set names. So instead, what you're going to do is this. Remember the split operator we did maybe in our first class or second class. So you say names, set names, So whatever you put there becomes the new value of names, right? So you spread whatever might be inside names initially. So this is going to spread. It's going to lay them there. Then you can now add this variable name, this state name, like this. I come again. You are spreading, you created an array here like this. Then you are spreading whatever might be inside names initially. Then you are adding new one. Let's try to display the names on the screen so that you see how names looks like. Oops. Add name. So say Peter James John. So we have this. This is the array. It's pushing it successfully. Like you're able to push it inside the array successfully. Now, so what we are going to do in our next class is we now see how to display the array, what is inside this names array, on our screen. Presently, well, you can say we are displaying it on the screen, but really, in most instances, you won't be displaying it like this. In most instances, we are not going to be doing it like this. So in our next class, we are going to see how you will use the knowledge of map that you learned in our second, I think the second class, yeah, the second class, to display what you have inside these names on this screen. But I hope you understand what is going on here. When you click on this button, it's going to call on this. It is spread whatever might be inside it. You might do something like this. Why not do something like this? And the thing is that if you run it like this, what happens is when I click on this button, it's going to run this. Now let's assume name is Taye. Let's say name is Taye. So it's going to create an array. Inside that array, I will have Taye, and you will think it's working fine. The problem is that when you type another name, let's say now you typed Kenny inside this input. So name is now Kenny. And you click on this. It's going to run this. Now, you know we have an array. Inside that array, you have name. So what it's going to do is that it will come here and put Kenny here. That means that Kenny will overwrite the Taye. The Kenny will overwrite the Taye. It's going to replace whatever might be there initially. And you don't want that to happen. If I come here again and type, let's say, Idowu inside this place, and I click on this button, name is now Idowu. So this line, this set name will look like this. Set names. Since name is now Idowu, it will just replace it here like this. Idowu. So you don't want this to happen. You want to be able to get what might be there initially, then you can now add new one to it. And that is why we are spreading it. Names. So that's why we do something like this. Like this. So this will first get whatever might be inside name, it will spread them there, then you can now add a new name. So if I have Taye there now, and I click on this button, if name is Taye, it will spread what is inside names, these names, it will spread whatever might be there here, then it will add Taye like this. So this array now, we now have Taye inside. If I type Kenny here and I click on this button, it's going to spread whatever might be there initially. Now, remember I have Taye there already. So the Taye will be here like this. The Taye will be here. Then you can now have Kenny here like this. It will now have the new one. So if it's in the world, so it is spread whatever might be there, then add new one. And that's why we are doing it this way, so that you can get the initial value. If you are not getting it, let's classicalize it so that you understand it better. Okay. So if I come here now and I say Taye, we have this. Once I change it to Kenny, like this, the Kenny has replaced the Taye. If I change it to Idowu, Idowu will replace the Kenny. We don't want that to happen. Do you understand? Do you understand my explanation?
Yeah.
So in our next class, we continue from this page. We see how to use map to display everything you have in an array. Thanks for coming. I will send you 2 recordings to the group. Have a lovely night rest.